Hi there, this is James Swanwick, and you're listening to the Alcohol Free Lifestyle Podcast, where you learn how to take back control over alcohol and live a life of health, wealth, love, and happiness. Welcome to the show. I'm James Swanwick. I was interviewed recently by Mary Tilson, who is a certified addiction recovery coach. She's a yoga and meditation teacher, and she's the founder of the Sun and Moon Sober Living. And she is passionate about ending the stigma and helping others find freedom from addiction and build fulfilling lives. So this interview was published, I should say, on the Sun and Moon Sober Living podcast. So I'd encourage you to go and check that out. And it's a great conversation. Here we go.
James, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to be having this conversation. I know you have impacted the lives of many through your coaching and programs helping people quit alcohol. And before we get into all of that and the work that you do today, I always love to start with a bit of a background. And I was hoping you would share about your story and what led you to quit drinking.
Thank you. Great to be here, Mary. I was a socially acceptable drinker growing up in Australia, my native country. And by that, I mean I might have a couple of drinks most nights of the week. On weekends, sometimes I was drinking to excess and I would get drunk, but I didn't really hit a rock bottom. I didn't get a DUI. I didn't wake up in a ditch, but I came to realize in my mid-30s that my drinking habits, although seemingly innocent on the surface, were actually quite destructive in the sense that I'd put on about 25, 30 pounds slowly over the years. I wasn't sleeping great. I was distracted. I was irritable. I wasn't focused. I was procrastinating on many of my goals. The quality and caliber of my relationships felt like they were about a 6.5 out of 10. In fact, I would probably just say that my overall feeling and experience of life was probably like a 6.5. So it wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. The way I describe it is that it was just blah. And so when I was 35, I was in Austin, Texas at the South by Southwest Festival in 2010. I had 2 Bombay Sapphire gin and tonics at an industry party, went to bed, woke up the next morning, looked in the mirror, realized that I looked very weathered. My skin was dry. I looked tired. As I said, I was a little bit overweight. And I just thought, you know what? Time to take a break from this consistent drinking habit that you have. Let's just stop for 30 days and see what happens. And so I did. And in 30 days, I lost 13 pounds. I slept better. I looked better, joined a gym, ate better, started moving towards some of my goals. I auditioned for and got a job hosting a television show, a TV show called Sports Center on ESPN. And I got to 30 days and I thought, well, this is surprisingly good. I think I might just keep going. And I kept going and I haven't drunk since. So it's been 13 years tomorrow as we record this, actually, that I last had a drink of alcohol.
Oh, incredible. Congratulations. And it's amazing to hear that you saw so much quick transformation in those 30 days. Did you run up against challenges when you started giving up drinking?
Socially, it felt a little awkward the first 2 weeks. I went out to a bar called Jones Bar on Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood with my usual drinking buddies, Tom and Zach. And I told them that I wasn't drinking. And my friend Zach decided to order me what I thought was a soda water, but he secretly put vodka in it. And as I went to take a sip of it, I kind of saw his suspiciously guilty grin on his face. And I said to him, "Did you put alcohol in this?" And he said, "Yeah, I did." And I said to him, I'm going to use some profanity here if it's all right, Mary. So cross your ears, ladies, if you're listening. I said, "You're a wanker." It was a very Australian kind of thing to say to another man. And, so that felt a bit, I felt a bit let down by my friend at that point that he was trying to get me to drink, even though I had announced that I wasn't going to drink. And then a week later, actually, I organized a date with a woman. Her name is Andrea. And I went to the bar 15 minutes before she got there and made a deal with the barman that whenever I ordered a vodka and soda, that he would only give me soda water. So we would trick my date into believing that I was drinking. And I was doing that because I just felt so awkward about sharing with her that I wasn't drinking alcohol, because I had this fear that she was going to judge me like I was an alcoholic or I had a drinking problem or that I was somehow dull. So I did. I tricked her. She had a couple of glasses of wine. I had a couple of quote unquote vodka sodas that were actually just soda waters. But then a few weeks later, she and I were at the Coachella Music Festival, and her friend said, "Hey, James, do you want me to get you a drink?" And I said, "Oh, no, thanks. I stopped drinking like a month ago." And Andrea said, "No, you didn't. You were drinking on our first date." And I had to come clean and say, actually, I wasn't drinking, and that I had tricked her, and she really was not very happy about that. And it actually created like an energetic break in us because she felt like I had lied to her, which candidly I had withheld. So that was an interesting lesson as well, which was, even if you tell your friends you're not drinking, they're going to try to get you to drink. And if you try to withhold from someone or hide the fact that you're drinking from someone and then they find out, then that also causes some problems. So it was a little bit awkward in those first sort of few weeks. But then after that, as I grew in confidence being alcohol free, I just started to share the story a lot more. I started to feel more comfortable sharing it, and people just came to go, "Oh, okay, cool. That's interesting." What was surprising is that how little people really cared when I told them I wasn't drinking.
So true. And I'm glad that you bring that up, because that seems to be the biggest struggle for people. And the biggest stressor when it comes to even the idea of giving up alcohol is how it's going to impact your social life, going out, dating. So what do you recommend for people then in that situation? Because obviously it didn't work, to tell your friend that you're not drinking, and it didn't work to pretend that you're drinking. So what has worked for you?
Well, a lot of the reason why it didn't work with my friend Zach, who tried to sneak drinks into my drink, was because I was quite sheepish and embarrassed and feeling awkward about telling them that I wasn't drinking. And so my whole body language and my whole persona was on, I wish I could drink, but I can't, or I've made this decision not to drink for 30 days. Geez, sorry guys, I wish I could drink with you. And so what I'm doing is I'm unconsciously and consciously telling myself, drinking's fun and pleasurable, and not drinking is really hard, like you're in a prison. And then I'm also telling my friends, by behaving that way, that drinking is fun and not drinking is hard and like you're in a prison. And then, of course, when you do that, it creates this whole pressure situation where they think that you're not fun and dull and awkward to be around, and rightly so, because you're acting pretty awkward around this fact that you're not drinking. It was when I switched to just feeling comfortable and confident in communicating that I wasn't drinking that there ceased to be any awkwardness, either from me or from the social circle that I was with at that time. They've done these studies that show that all persuasion or influence is only 7% what you say, but 93% how you say it. And so understanding that 93% of all influence and persuasion is body language, tonality, mannerisms. What I did was I just went into every situation where I was communicating that I wasn't alcohol free so lightheartedly, with fun, with confidence. I would make a joke at my own expense. "Oh yeah, I'm going to get drunk on this soda water, ice, and a piece of lime tonight. Ha ha ha." Or I would just say candidly, "Yeah, I haven't drunk in 6 months. It's been surprising, actually. I've lost about 20 pounds. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm sleeping pretty good. But yeah, you go ahead, drink your wine, drink your beer. I'm good. I'll go shot for shot with you if you like. You do your tequila, I'll do my soda water. Ha ha ha." And as soon as I was just lighthearted and playful and confident and just shared without embarrassment or fear of what the other person or the other people were thinking, there was just no issue. It was just no issue at all. And so now I can just confidently go into any social situation, whether there's alcohol present or not, and have a great time. And the people that I'm with can have a great time with me because it's not even an issue.
That is such an important point. I think it's so easy to fall into that trap of approaching the conversation apologetically and sort of like shriveling up and as if you've done something wrong by not drinking. But was it the changes that you were starting to see that gave you that confidence to be able to kind of own the fact that you were alcohol free?
Yeah, it was definitely the changes in terms of my body, my sleep, the results I was getting professionally and creatively. And then it was just increased confidence. Every time I shared the story that I wasn't drinking, I got more confident. Then the next time I would share another part of the story and I got more confident. And then I'd share it again and I got increasingly confident. So it's just one of those things. In the beginning, there's always resistance, isn't there? With anything, not just communicating that you're alcohol free, but with anything, there's always resistance. And as soon as you lean into that resistance and you come out the other side and it's like, oh, actually, that wasn't as challenging as I thought it may have been. And then the next time it becomes easier, and then the next time it becomes easier again. So I think if you can just own it, smile when you're sharing your alcohol free. Don't try to lecture anyone. Don't try to persuade them to stop drinking. Just share candidly about your experience in a fun, light-hearted, true, confident way. You will feel so comfortable about you not drinking, and others will feel so comfortable about you not drinking.
Yes, I love that. I couldn't agree more. And, you mentioned a lot of these different benefits that affected your physical health, your mental health, your sleep, career. And I've heard you refer to alcohol as attractively packaged poison. And it just makes me laugh because it's so true. And I was hoping you could speak to that a little bit and, what the true effects of alcohol are beneath the pretty packaging that we're all used to seeing.
Alcohol is just toxins. Alcohol is just poison. There's no nutritional benefit at all to any amount of alcohol. This has been proven repeatedly now through dozens and dozens of scientific studies. This one study, or this one set of studies that drinkers like to cling on to for dear life, is that a glass of wine a day is good for heart health. Those set of studies that came out in the 1980s have been debunked so many times now, with the benefit of time, with the benefit of new technology, with the benefit of new research, that to claim that now is just either naivete or you're in denial and you're just going to like do anything you can not to sacrifice your glass of attractively packaged poison. So the reality is that alcohol is shit. Excuse my language. Alcohol is shit in a very attractive bottle. That's it. And clever marketers know this. Clever marketers put it in this beautiful champagne bottle with this lovely, sleek design and this beautiful label on the wine bottle. And we use fancy words like premium, like oak, like barreled for 25 years, like aged for 8 years. And we put this sophisticated gold trimming around the labels. And then we throw very handsome looking men and very attractive looking women in the marketing with them. And we have them dress up and portray elegance and sophistication. And we see big billboards of George Clooney with a leather jacket riding a motorcycle advertising his former tequila brand. And we go, tequila's cool. I can be cool and suave like George Clooney if I drink this attractively packaged poison. And then we see advertisements for holidays and vacations and boat cruises where we see this attractive man and woman, and they're sharing this glass of wine over candlelight, and they're looking adoringly into each other's eyes. And the inference is that, well, you must drink a glass of attractively packaged poison in order to create romance and in order to really feel like you're living the good life. Have a look at how cultural conditioning has completely and utterly bamboozled us into believing this. Look at people's Instagram photos and stories from when they're on vacation. Just watch, just look. And what you'll notice in most of those photos, in most of those posts, is that there's a prop in there. And the prop is always a woman holding a wine glass or a man holding a beer. And it symbolizes, living the good life. Here's me with my poison on a beach at sunset. Here's me with my beautiful partner going out to a fancy dinner. Here's us toasting each other. It's this prop in almost every photo you see of people trying to show off this relaxed, beautiful, incredible life that they have. The irony of the whole thing is that they're holding a glass or a bottle of something that causes irritation, poor sleep, unwanted body fat, frustration, regret, irritability, poor performance, and so forth and so forth and so forth. But these very clever marketers have put this poison into this very attractive bottle and sold us this big lie.
Yeah, it's so amazing to me because as you described the billboard with George Clooney, I think we all like to think that we're smarter than that. Like it's like we're intelligent people, and a lot of the people who struggle with alcohol are very intelligent people that would like to think that we're not falling victim to this. But do you think that it is the conditioning which causes most people to struggle with drinking and have such a hard time giving it up?
Yeah, cultural conditioning is real. And this didn't start in your late teens and adulthood. This started when you were a little boy or a little girl, when mummy and daddy were drinking in front of you. And they said to you, oh, no, little Johnny, little Sally, you can't drink. You've got to wait till you're older. So what are they doing to little Johnny and little Sally? They're implanting this idea in their unconscious and conscious mind that there's a rite of passage to go through, and that one day little Johnny and little Sally get to drink poison. Oh, that's the way that you'll know that you've finally grown up, because every little kid wants to grow up and be an adult. And so your parents, as they drink in front of you, and then they explain to you what they're drinking and say, oh, no, when you later on, when you are older, then you can drink. They've just created a lifetime of belief that drinking alcohol is just something that you do, and it's pleasurable and it's fun. That's when it starts. And then it goes on into your late teens when you got to celebrate the end of school and you go into college or university, and then everyone's drinking and they're doing it with this big smile on their face. And then you go into the workforce, and the workforce is like, let's go for some after work drinks. Oh, it's the end of year, Christmas party, open bar. Oh, great, wonderful, terrific. Oh, it's the Super Bowl. Oh, Super Bowl. Got to have some drinks. Oh, it's Thanksgiving, get together. Got to have some drinks. Oh, it's Christmas. Got to have some drinks. And on and on and on and on and on it goes.
Yes. And I wanted to talk to you about the career piece, because that was something that was really difficult for me. I mean, starting from childhood conditioning, it's just how business was done and still is done. And then when I went into advertising and worked at an ad agency, every single networking event, whether it was within the company, getting to know your team, working with, our sales reps, whatever it was all wrapped up in alcohol and drinking events. And so there was this deep belief that in order to be successful in my career, I need to be drinking alcohol, which when you put it in the perspective you just shared of I need to be drinking a toxic poison in order to be successful in career, it feels a bit backwards. So I know you work with a lot of entrepreneurs and people in business. I would love to hear your perspective on that.
I would offer you an alternate view. If you want to be unsuccessful in business, drink alcohol. The story is that in order to be successful, you've got to drink alcohol and network and schmooze and take clients out and show them a good time and go to networking lunches and dinners and bond. The truth is you can do all of that without drinking alcohol. The truth is that doing all of that with alcohol makes you irritable and distracted, and lethargic, compromises your sleep, and has you performing at a less than optimal level in your work and in your career. I mean, it's just preposterous that people think that drinking something that compromises your sleep, which then compromises your performance in the workplace, is somehow helping the company for whom you work, or whether it's, or it might be the company that you own. It's ridiculous. It's all backwards, and it's been backwards for years. And we're living in this perpetual vision of, alcohol's great and wonderful, and it's great. We need to provide poison for our staff so they can feel connected and loved and appreciated. Meanwhile, they're like operating at a 6.5, 7.5 out of 10 when they could be operating at an 8.5, 9 out of 10. The difference in revenue generation financially is millions and millions and millions of dollars. If you have a company and you have, let's say, 10 staff, and they're all operating at a 7 out of 10, and that business generates, let's call it $2 million annual revenue, just hypothetically. Do you think that if they were operating at an 8.5 out of 10, they might generate more than $2.5 million? I would say yes. You've just had 10 different people increase their clarity and focus and productivity by 15% because they're not being affected by the ramifications of alcohol. And if you can then create an extra $500,000, then there's an argument to say that your staff's drinking habits is costing your business $500,000 in lost revenue every single year. Now, if you're an employee and you're in the workplace and you have a salary of, say, $100,000, and your drinking habits are making you tired and lethargic at times, and you're operating at an 8.5 out of 10 already. Maybe you're already a very good worker and you get good reports and you're like, you're a solid performer. Well done. And you're not going to get sacked. You're not going to get fired. And they're very happy with you. Well, that's nice. They'll pay you $100,000. But if you're alcohol-free consistently, and now you go from an 8.5 to a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10 in your performance, one additional call per day that leads to more revenue, one better strategic decision, which leads to more revenue, one better strategic decision because you've got so much clarity from being alcohol-free that leads to finding a way to cut expenses in the business by $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. Now, your boss or superiors consider you an outstanding employee. And when it comes time to get a raise, the chances of you getting a raise from 100 to 130 are probable as opposed to just possible. So now you've got $30,000 additional salary because you're outstanding, not to mention maybe you get bonuses. Maybe you get a little $10,000, $20,000 bonus. The swing is $50,000 just because you move from an 8.5 out of 10 drinking to a 9.5 out of 10 not drinking. And that doesn't even include how much you've been spending on alcohol throughout the year, which usually is not much. It might only be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. But what you're not generating because of your drinking habits in this scenario is $50,000. Now, just to wrap this up, if you do the math on that in this example, and we go $50,000 plus $5,000 that you spend on alcohol and alcohol-related activities, right? $55,000 a year divided by 365 days of the year is $150. So essentially, every day that you choose to drink, or every day that you're alive in the year and you're drinking any amount, whether it's 7 days a week or 3 days a week, you're actually paying a tax of $150 in that scenario. So you wake up, bang, got to pay my $150 tax. That's how much it costs me to drink. Wake up the next day, boom, got to pay another $150 because I'm drinking. Boom, pay another $150, and on and on and on and on it goes.
This is such a powerful reframe. Putting it in that context with how much it's costing you, I think is so important, because a lot of times people get caught in that black and white way of thinking of, well, my life hasn't fallen apart yet. I haven't hit a rock bottom. I'm not an alcoholic. And if you think about it, like how much your life could just your quality of life, your career, everything can just elevate. So I'd love to hear what have been some of the transformations you've seen within clients that you've worked with. I mean, are there any stories that stand out to you?
I'll give you a financial success story, and I'll give you a health success story, and I'll give you an emotional experience of life story. So I have a process and a program. It's called Project 90. And we take our clients through a 90-day process where we help to rewire their mindset around alcohol. We show them and hold them accountable to being 90 days alcohol free. And during that time, we help them to create significant transformation in their life. It's not just, oh, that's good, I stopped drinking alcohol for 90 days. It's terrific, you stop drinking for 90 days, and we're helping you create whatever it is that you want to create in your life. Okay. So I'll give you one financial success story. There's a gentleman called Gaetano. He lives outside of Boston, Massachusetts. He's in real estate. He said that he did 2 additional real estate deals during the 90 days he was inside of our Project 90 program. And those 2 additional deals that he wouldn't have done if he was drinking, which he said that the only reason he did those 2 additional deals is because he had clarity and focus and energy, generated him an extra $250,000, $250,000 in additional income as a result of just doing 2 additional real estate deals during his 90 days with us.
Yeah.
So if you multiply that by 4 quarters, that's $1 million a year. So his drinking habits were costing him $1 million a year. He stopped drinking, bang, all of a sudden, $250,000 more income in 90 days. Health. Had a woman called Roseanne. She's 3 years alcohol-free today as we're recording this. She's in her early 60s, lives in Arizona, outside of Scottsdale. She lost 25 pounds during her 90 days going through our Project 90 program, which is terrific. She looked amazing. You could see that the puffiness from her face disappeared. Her skin started to glow. And more than her just celebrating the fact that she lost 25 pounds was her celebrating the fact that she had her self-confidence back. She shared that she had a very low opinion of herself when she didn't feel good. She was 25 pounds extra weight. She didn't feel beautiful or feminine in her clothes. She was self-conscious when she would go out. And then she lost 25 pounds and she got her confidence back. I mean, that's everything. Imagine going through life not feeling confident, being self-conscious, feeling ashamed or worried what other people are thinking about you. So for her, again, 25 pounds is what happened, but the self-confidence was what she got. And then there was a gentleman named Christian from the UK. He lives between London and Cheshire, which is south of Manchester in North England. And he came to us, to our program, shortly after his wife sadly died of a terminal illness. And he had nursed her and supported her and helped her for the 3 years since she was diagnosed until her death. And he said that during those 3 years, he drank a lot to excess, to deal with the pain, to deal with the hurt, to deal with just the stress. And then his wife passed. And he came to us and he said, I'm just drinking way too much. It's out of control. I'm not happy. My wife has just passed. I need to do something. I need to make a change. So he came to us. We walked him through this 90-day process. We supported him. And in that 90-day block, he decided, as a tribute to his late wife, to sail across the ocean. It was on his bucket list to learn how to sail and to take a trip across an ocean. And so he did. During the 90 days, he found someone who was going on a trip. He joined a competition. And sometime after he completed the 90 days, he sailed from off the west coast of Africa, a Spanish island off the west coast of Africa, to St. Lucia in the Caribbean on a 17-day sailing trip with about, I think, 8 other gentlemen in a competition. And they came second in their class and I think 8th overall. And he said that on day or night 7 or night 8 of that 17-day trip, he was the only one up on deck. Others were sleeping. It was very calm. And the moon was up in the sky, and he swears that he saw his late wife's face in the moon. And for him, it felt like his wife was saying to him, I'm proud of you. I'm so happy that you are achieving what you want to achieve and you're realizing your dreams. And it was a very emotional experience for him. So that's a really amazing, powerful story, and what can happen when people choose to be alcohol free. And just on that gentleman's name, Christian, I do have a podcast in Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's called Alcohol Free Lifestyle. You can actually find that episode where he speaks for about 45 minutes about his whole transformation and more on that 17-day boating trip and what it meant for him to see his late wife's image in the moon that night. So if anyone would like to listen to that, you can find that on that show.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that story. I'll be sure to link that too in the show notes. I think it touches on a really, really important piece, the emotional side of things. And again, how we're conditioned to cope with anxiety and stress and grief by just drowning it out with alcohol. And to think how his life could have gone in such different directions had he chose to just dive headfirst into the bottle, or really find this incredible sense of purpose through that sailing experience and then connecting with his wife in that way.
Beautiful. It's so heartfelt. And people, rightly say, oh, I stopped drinking, I lost 25 pounds and I slept better and I did better at work. But really, the most powerful thing, or things that really come out of being alcohol free, I think, are just a much more pleasurable experience of life, and breakthroughs and transformations and joy and connecting to loved ones and knocking things off your bucket list and experiencing the joy or euphoria of doing that, and making closer connections with friends or family or colleagues or baristas in your Starbucks when you're ordering a coffee. Like those kind of things that aren't so obvious in the moment because everyone's focused on, I've lost 25 pounds, I'm sleeping better. But those things are really the juice. That's really the beautiful stuff that can come out of living an alcohol-free lifestyle.
Absolutely. And I think storytelling is so powerful too. I was thinking about, as you were sharing these different stories, that we all have our own unique set of circumstances. And it's so easy to try to compare, one story to the other and decide whether or not I should stop drinking. But the reality is, just recognizing that we might all be different, but our lives could just improve in so many different ways. We don't even really know what to expect on the other side is just so beautiful and inspiring. And I know that you have developed an approach which you use to help people with quitting drinking. And I was wondering if you could share what some of the tools and steps, some of your secrets are for helping people, and how it might differ from traditional recovery paths.
When we're speaking, we talk about stopping drinking, quitting drinking. But really, when we're coaching our clients, we tell them to throw that out the window, to actually stop focusing on what you don't want to do and instead focus on what you will do. Let me give you an example. Instead of saying to yourself, I can't drink, I shouldn't drink, I have to stop, I need to stop, we change it to, I easily only drink soda water, ice, and a piece of lime. I easily drink lots of water. I easily love this alcohol-free drink. I'm easily going up to the bar right now and ordering a soda water, ice, and some cranberry juice from the barman or barwoman right now. They've done these studies of the human brain and psychology which show that when you tell your brain or body not to do something, chances are you'll end up doing that thing. I'm not sure if you've ever been skiing, snow skiing, and you're going down a hill and there might be trees to the left or the right of you or other skiers, and you say to yourself, don't go towards the trees, don't hit the trees, don't hit that person, don't go towards that person. And what invariably happens, what often happens, is that you just, for some reason, your body just starts to move towards the trees or starts to move towards that person. It makes no sense because you say, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. But then you do that. So same with drinking. If you say, don't drink, shouldn't drink, can't drink, you're thinking about drinking and you're more likely to steer towards drinking, and it's going to be so much more challenging for you to actually stop drinking. Whereas if we just change our language and change our mindset to what you will do, I will drink soda water, ice, and a piece of lime tonight with dinner. I will create romance with my partner while enjoying a beautiful mint soda water, pineapple, strawberry mocktail, and you just focus on what you will do, then it's a heck of a lot easier to accomplish that very thing. So AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, and traditional methods of helping people to stop drinking are more focused on what you shouldn't do. You can't drink again. They encourage you to concede that you're an alcoholic, even though you're probably not an alcoholic. You just drink too much at the moment, or you're just drinking a lot at the moment. You have to adhere to 12-step program. Got to do this. You have to surrender to a higher power. You've got to say that you are powerless over this disease or this addiction. I call BS on most of that. There's shocking statistics which have come out which show that folks who attempt AA, only 7% of people it actually works for in terms of being able to get to a year alcohol-free. 7%, which means 93% of people who walk in the door to an AA meeting, it doesn't stick, doesn't work, isn't effective, ineffective. Now, that's just the statistics. That's not my opinion. That's just the statistics. And I would invite you to do your own research. You can Google AA actual success rate, and you'll find dozens of articles demonstrating that it really only has about a 7% estimated success rate. My opinion on why that is because it's getting you stuck in the past, lamenting the past, talking about how terrible things have been, how shocking your life is, how challenging things have been, surrendering to a higher power, conceding that you're powerless. Powerless? Give me a break. You're powerful. And so what we do in our process is we empower our clients. We get them out of this limiting belief story that they've created about why they're drinking and life's so hard, and we empower them to create all the things they want to create in their life. So instead of what AA and traditional recovery does is, don't do this, you're powerless, you can't drink again. Over here, we're like, you're powerful. What do you get to create? Here's where you're going. Let's go in this direction, and let's do it from an energetic feeling of fun and power and joy. We have a 92% success rate of getting our clients to at least 90 consecutive days alcohol-free. It's so successful that the University of Washington and the University of Florida are currently conducting a joint scientific study on 163 of our clients who are going through our 90-day stop drinking process to ascertain just why our process is so successful. I already know why. Because it's empowering, because it's fun, because it has a like-minded community, because we're heading in this direction as opposed to saying no to this direction.
And would you say how would you kind of define the core group of people who goes through your program? I mean, do you work with people who are in active addiction, or is it mainly people who are kind of in the gray area space?
I would say more the gray area space. So if someone comes to us and says, I'm an alcoholic, we just lovingly guide them somewhere else. We just say, we're not here for you for two reasons. One, if someone truly believes they're an alcoholic, then that means that they believe that they have a chemical dependency on alcohol. It's very challenging to get people out of that mindset, especially when they have spent 20 years being told they're an alcoholic or telling people that they're an alcoholic. Secondly, if they truly are what society seems to deem an alcoholic is, which is a chemical dependency, I'm not a doctor, right? I don't provide a hospital bed. I don't provide professional medical services to be able to help someone if they're going to go through a detox. So we just lovingly guide them elsewhere. The folks that we support and who we seem to create the most impact for are high performers in other areas of their life, whether it be professionally or in some cases health, financially, but they just can't break this drinking habit. They're stuck on this stop, start cycle. They drink most nights of the week. Some nights they get drunk. They have made regrettable choices. They're distracted. They're overweight. They're tired. But with a couple of simple rewiring of the mindset techniques, we can get them repositioning alcohol in their life, experiencing the joy of being alcohol-free, and then open up a whole cascade of other healthy habits around nutrition and mindset and conscious communication and conflict resolution and family and relationships. That's the kind of clientele that we really support. And most of them tend to be in their late 40s or early 50s. We help folks 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. We don't accept anyone in their 20s because in my experience of helping people since 2015, anecdotally, folks in their 20s, they don't see the pain enough yet. They think that they're going to live forever and they'll sort it out down the line, and the need really isn't there. But I'll tell you where the need is. The need really kicks in mid-30s, late 30s, absolutely 40s, 100% 50s and 60s, because now people realize, they go, well, I got less time on this earth and in this life than I've already had. Maybe I might want to experience life in a far better way than what I have been experiencing it.
Yeah. And hopefully we will get to a point too, where there's a general shift in awareness where we don't have 20-year-olds and, teenagers getting exposed to alcohol so early too. So we don't develop those habits. I mean, do you think that that shift is happening?
It's happening. Millennials have never drunk less. That generation, and I say that generation as if I'm like such an older generation. I'm Generation X. What generation are you, Mary?
Millennial.
Millennial. Okay. How young are you?
I'm 33.
33. Okay. So millennials have never drunk less when you compare it to the generations that came before millennials. People are turning back on their backs on alcohol in droves. There is a massive tidal wave of change that I've seen really pick up steam in the last 18 months, especially the last 6 months. I've been doing this now since 2015. It was a slog until about 2020, like to change people's minds. But then the pandemic happened. Everyone started drinking more. Not everyone, but a lot more people started drinking more. Alcohol sales increased exponentially during the pandemic. And now we're experiencing all the ramifications of that. And people are like, enough. I need to do something healthier. I need to make healthier choices. There's been an explosion of alcohol-free drinks on the market now. People have got so many more choices. It's happening, but it's still probably going to take a good 2 decades, in my opinion, for society to look upon alcohol with the same level of disdain that we look upon cigarettes. It may even take longer. It could take 3 decades, but it's coming. We're heading in that direction. In 20 years from now, all of us listening to this episode right now, we're going to look back at 2023 and go, what were we thinking? We just normalized alcohol. How crazy was that? It's happening.
100%. And from the study that you're doing right now, what's your hope for what comes out of that study once that's finished?
Well, the University of Washington and University of Florida are mostly interested in workplace outcomes. So what they want to see is, first of all, how is our program so successful? Why is it so successful? How do we actually generate this 92% success rate? And secondly, it wants to know, how has not drinking impacted participants' professions, career, productivity, output? So the questions that the universities are asking the participants include, how productive were you at work today? Have you made more sales? Do you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how productive were you today? How irritable were you today? Are your colleagues talking about your drinking habits? Are your colleagues noticing your performance and how. So they're really digging in to ask questions about what's the impact of not drinking for 90 days on the workplace. Now, I already know what the results are going to be because I've been doing this since 2015. The results are going to be outstanding. It's going to say that people's productivity soared, that they made more money, that they got a promotion, that they felt clearer, that they enjoyed their work considerably more. That's what the results will say. I'm supremely confident of that. And when that happens and the universities publish their papers, my hypothesis, my prediction is that that study will generate worldwide media coverage, which will further implant in people's minds the benefit of being alcohol free. And my hope is that corporate America, corporations all over the world will take notice and will put in some internal practices to support their staff living either a mostly alcohol-free lifestyle or a completely alcohol-free lifestyle, because the more employees that they can get not drinking, the better for the business, the more impact they'll be able to create in the world, the less sick days their staff will be taking, the less human resources problems will take place. It's just a win times infinity.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate all the work that you're doing to educate people on the truth about alcohol and this very positive, forward-focused approach that you have to quitting drinking. And I can't imagine that anyone listening would have any remaining doubt about whether or not it would be a good choice. But if there is anyone listening who's kind of struggling with their relationship with alcohol, what would you say would be a great next step for them in order to make some positive change in their life?
Well, I'll answer that two ways. First way will be to just send you over to some of my free stuff. First of all, I would just encourage you to listen to the Alcohol Free Lifestyle podcast. You can find it in Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, because we talk about tips on how to live an alcohol-free lifestyle, whether that be reducing alcohol or quitting entirely, how to handle social situations when you're explaining to people not to drink. I'm over on Instagram as well at James Swanwick. You can find me there, and I put out a lot of educational videos as well. So there's that. The other way I would say is look at your life and get very clear. What is it that you want? What is it that you're currently doing? And is what you are currently doing getting you to what you want? And if you're drinking any amount of alcohol, chances are you're compromising your efforts to get what you want. I'm not saying that you won't get what you want. It might just take you a decade longer than if you stopped drinking. I'm not saying that you won't get to your goals. It might just feel a little bit more challenging than if you weren't drinking. So look at your life, look at the actual impact of your drinking habits, and be real. Be real with yourself. You've got to really challenge this notion that your seemingly innocent glass or two a night is okay. And I already know the thought process that's going on in most of the listeners. I drink once or twice. I'm good. Here's something really scary I'll leave you with. And it is scary, but at the same time, I hope that you'll take it and feel inspired to make a change. In 2022 in April, there was a study that came out, and they looked at 35,000 middle-aged Brits and the impact of one seemingly innocent drink per day. So 7 standard drinks per week. And they tracked these folks over several weeks. And what they found was that 1 drink a day was enough to destroy white and gray matter in your brain. The bumper sticker is 1 seemingly innocent drink per night compromises your brain function. That's a pretty scary thought. That ages the brain. So if you want to increase the aging process, if you want to speed up the aging process, drink your drink per night. If you want to slow it down and have a higher quality of life, maybe either cut back or eliminate it entirely, because I've had a life with alcohol and a life without, and I can tell you that a life without is way better. If you're an executive, entrepreneur, or investor who's sick of the stop-start cycle and the damaging effects alcohol has on your health, happiness, and family, and you're ready to regain confidence, become more present with your spouse and children, reduce stress, anxiety, and irritability, sleep better, increase focus and productivity, and feel better quickly, you're invited to apply to become a Project 90 client. Applicants can apply for an introductory interview by visiting alcoholfreelifestyle.com/project90. There's a link in the show notes, which you can just click, but that link is alcoholfreelifestyle.com/project90.